Good morning and welcome to Tuesday. We are grateful to be here, aren't we? One day further into the week, one day closer to fall, and we could not be happier. I hope that you can hear me today. We had an issue with that yesterday, but if you have any questions, just submit them in the chat box below, and we'll be happy to answer those for you today. I was reading in our daily readings that we have. And first, I want you may ask, what do you have your church shirt on for today? Well, we're serving lunch over at the BCM at Tarleton State Fort Worth campus. That is just on the other side of Chisholm Trail from the church. And if you want to be a part of that, George and the team are already up at the kitchen. Get prepared. You can go help out if you would like to. But I was reading in the scriptures the other day and was listening and reading and thinking and came across the term koinonia in Philippians chapter 1 and verse 5, I believe. And the scriptures translate that a partnership. And partnership is an incredibly interesting term for us. You say, well, koinonia, that's just church fellowship, but it's more than that. Koinonia is used in various ways to mean a close connection surrounding a common goal or purpose. That's the church. To understand and be gathered together surrounding a common goal or purpose. Paul writes to the church at Philippi and says, thank you for your partnership in the gospel. Partnership in the gospel. Paul does some, they do some. And it is a combination of the two that create the great work that was going on that Paul is just praising at the beginning of this letter to the church at Philippi. Now we have to realize the Philippian people had not always welcomed Paul with open arms. It was not always this way. Acts 16 gives you a little different viewpoint of what the Philippians did to start with. But they would come to Christ. Many would come to Christ, not all. And they began to partner together. It wasn't that that Paul did everything and they did nothing. It wasn't that Paul told them, you do everything and I'll do nothing. But it was a partnership where each understood the strengths that they had. Each understood the weaknesses maybe they had. But instead of focusing on what was wrong with the other person, they chose to focus on what was right with the other person. And in doing that, they were able to support one another, to care for one another, to work together and partner together for the sake of the gospel. And I think there's a word there that we need to learn. I think there's something that we can understand in our own lives today about this idea of partnership. In my research and study for my doctoral project, I've understood this, and it's a part of the research. We have 5 generations that can be in church together at the same time right now. Well, what's so startling about that? Well, from the span of ages, it's the first time we've really had 5 generations, strong 5 generations, able to be in church together. The length of life is extended, so we have 5, possibly 6, depending on how you would divide that. That's not happened before in history. Secondly, not only is it by an age, that's not very surprising, but we have such defined terms when it comes to each of these groups of people. We have titles for each of them. We have the builder generation, we have the boomer generation, we have the Gen X, the millennial, we have the Gen Z generation. And there's really, if you look at the infants today, that's the newest generation that we haven't named yet. All of these could be in church together. They're not, but they could. but they all have such different viewpoints of things. They solve problems differently. They communicate differently. They have perspectives that are different. Now, before we start, they're morally awful. Well, that's not necessarily what we need to focus on, is it? Well, it's true. But here's the thing. Every generation has the morally upright and the morally corrupt. Every generation has had that. That's nothing new. That's really nothing new. But what we need to do is begin to look at what are some strengths that we have. How can I learn from this other generation? I'm talking to every generation. What can I learn from them? And before we say, I've got nothing to learn, check yourself before you wreck yourself here, because we all have something to learn. Paul would even say, look, I haven't attained anything either. I haven't attained enlightenment. I haven't attained the end. I'm still pressing. I'm still learning. I'm still moving. I'm still going and growing, and I'm still trying. This is what we lack in the church today. If we want the hope and the joy and the peace that God offers, then we have to learn how to have those things with each other. Partnering together, shoulder to shoulder, bearing the burden together, shouldering it together, lockstep, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, striving for a common goal, the gospel of Jesus Christ to the ends of the earth. Maybe to the ends of your driveway. I don't know. But I think there's this idea of partnership that we need to recapture in church life today. Because we partner well with those that we are friends with. A buddy of mine is doing a doctoral project on generational friendships. I want to read that. I've been helping him with it. We've been working together because mine bleeds into his, and his is the next step of mine. We're working together because we have to learn how to have friendships. Be friends with somebody not in your generation. They're not a project to fix. They're not somebody to just whine. No, they're a person from which we can learn, and we can grow as we have a friendship together, as we partner together for the sake of the gospel. So maybe the challenge for us is to extend ourselves a little bit, extend grace to some others for a while, sit with somebody different in church, go up and talk to somebody that you don't know, introduce yourself. Maybe we need to get out of our Sunday school groups and go meet some other folks in another group for a while. I don't know. I know it's radical. But what if we started to partner with one another and learn about one another? What if we started tearing down the obstacles instead of raising them? This could solve a lot of problems. This could show a world the reality of the gospel in real time as we partner together. This is Paul. He was praising Philippi. Thank you. I praise God for you, for the partnership with me in the gospel. Who are we partnering with lately? Think about that. Pray about that. Seek God about that. We'll see you tomorrow.